All right, folks, welcome back into another edition of the High School Huddle, your one-stop shop for everything and all things Section 5 sports. I'm AJ Feldman, he's Carl Jones, and, well, the winter sports season full gear. Winter is apparently now in full gear as, you know, it's been cold lately. We haven't gotten the snow. I am looking outside my window right now. The snow is falling. It's sleet. I see Twitter reports of people in ditches and on the side of roads. I see games getting canceled everywhere. You really know that winter's back when all that is happening.
I just left the gym early on. I saw two cars on the side of the road, police cars behind them. So yeah, we're back. I know the Mother Nature blessed us for a little bit, you know, pushing it back, but she's here and she's swinging right now. But more than that, though, I'm just happy to be indoors for the games. These kids is hooping early on the ice as well. I've been doing their thing. I saw a great hockey game last week. So I can't wait, man. I know the fall season was dope, and hopefully the winter season lives up to the expectations as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is really the silver lining. You know, it's tough getting there and back, but you're inside. Like even the hockey, you know, it's a little colder than we'd like it to be, but you know, like you said, the play keeps you warm.
Yeah. Well, one of the rinks in this area is by far the colder than any other rink. I was at Webster. You know,
Webster's fine.
Webster's fine, and I was at, I think, Rochester Ice Center. That's decent, but there was one last year I went to, and I kid you not, I felt as if I was outdoors, you know, with no shirt on. Like, that's how cold it was. But I mean, I'll take that over rain, wind sideways, and all that type of stuff. So I guess it's a little give and take with that.
Yeah, Bill Gray's can get a little cold, especially the second rink. If you've ever done the second rink where it's not like the main one, like I've shot a game in that back corner rink, that can get pretty cold. There are a couple more, you know, as I've often mentioned, I came from Minnesota, my last job. There are some cold rinks, and if this wasn't a station podcast, we'd add on some adjectives to that cold. Yeah, it doesn't get much worse than some of those rinks over in Minnesota, but you know, it can get pretty bad, but we're happy to be inside, that is for sure. First off, I went out and did a pretty cool story this past week. The Victor girls basketball program, their new coach, Ashley Zahn, she is the daughter of Scott Zahn, who is a well-known name in the Victor community, also the Canandaigua community. He played at Victor as an athlete in the late 70s. I believe he touched into 1980. Played football, played basketball, played baseball, three-sport athlete, Hall of Famer, won, I believe it was a basketball sectional championship. So this guy was that guy in Victor. And then he stayed around. He was a coach for 30 years in different positions, coaching at those three sports, you know, modified level, JV level, just bouncing all around, just one of those guys. He passed away in 2019, and his daughter is now taking over the program, which is a very cool thing. I got the chance to talk to her, got the chance to talk to their assistant coach, Blake Smith, who also coached and taught with Mr. Zahn there, and his players. The funny thing is actually enough, these players, the seniors that are on her team right now, are full circle in all regards to this story, because she took over the JV program when her father passed away 3 or 4 years ago when they were freshmen. So that was her first team. But then also when they were on the modified team, their coach was Scott Zahn. So they are, you know, his legacy is certainly being felt, and it was really fun to get the chance to talk to everybody there, Victor. Wish I got a chance to meet Scott when he was still around. Just seemed like everybody spoke so highly of him, and just a great story to get to do this week. A really fun story to get the chance to tell.
Yeah, it was dope when I got to see it and watch it. And like you said, the kids get to see both sides. You know, they get to see the daughter as well as they were under Scott as well. So get to see, you know, what similarities. And I know you touched on it in the piece as well, the similarities they have. And then the coach that was with them as well. And they're like, wow, like, what does she bring to the table that's different than Scott? But what I find so unique, and I went to the game last year and I had no idea the connection, is that Canandaigua and Victor play each other in a special holiday tip-off, and I know that you know more about that. So I think that's kind of cool that she's right in the beginning of the piece. alluded to it right away. I had no idea that I would ever be at Victor, she said. Like, I'm a Canada, like, great. Like, obviously, I think 2,400 points or something like that. And now she's playing with the quote-unquote enemy, right? So it's just funny how everything in that piece kind of went full circle. The daughter goes to play with Victor, the girls and the coaches that were playing with the dad are now under the daughter. It's just funny how that all, the parallels in that piece.
Yeah, Ashley scored 2,400 points at Canandaigua, won a sectional championship in 2009. She went on to play Bonnies. And as you mentioned, she did all this stuff at Canandaigua. Obviously, Canandaigua and Victor very close to each other. So family lived in Canandaigua, but, the dad taught and coached at Victor, as, many people do. But at that time, he was the coach for assistant coach at Canandaigua. So he was also involved in that Canandaigua program as well. So, yeah, like you mentioned, the Scott Zahn Memorial Classic, they played in it was a similar matchup classic, I believe, raising money for charity before, but obviously did not have the Scott Zahn name. But now it is just this really cool event where, they raise money for local charities. They play at Finger Lakes Community College, so you get a bigger venue this year. And I'm not sure exactly if it's every year at this exact same time, but it is the Friday right before Christmas, so it's December 23rd. So you got everybody. They might have the day off of school, but they probably got school that day. So everybody's got their last day of school. Which a day of school, which really isn't school. Everybody's so excited to be Christmas. One of the best days of the year. And then everybody packs into Finger Lakes Community College, raises money for charity. The Victor girls have not won that game yet since it has been renamed the Scott Zahn Memorial Classic, 0-3. Obviously, Canandaigua are a really strong team in years past. This year, they're also good as well. The Victor school, the Victor team is very young this year. They graduated a lot. They're going to have a little bit of a learning curve this year, especially, you just think about it. When I was talking to Ashley, like, girls basketball around here, if you don't have like a team, if you don't have like one of those players, it's going to be a long season for you. It's going to be a learning season for you. So they're going through some building, some rebuilding phase right now at Victor. I mean, just you look at their schedule and you talk about a schedule that's tough to start off with. You get Penfield, you get Fairport, you get Hilton. They're getting Mercy, Canandaigua, HFL, Brighton. There are really no gaps in a girls' basketball schedule around here this year. So, but if there's anybody I have faith to, maybe at not the very least get all these wins, but certainly you talk to them and whatnot, they're in good hands with Miss Ashley Zahn there at the program. So it was really fun to go out and chat with them this week.
I mean, at this point, just establish the building blocks, and just make sure that obviously the kids are young. So you want to win and you want to, establish some type of culture there. But I'm sure better than I know, because she's under, she has a father for a legend. She'll know how to turn that program around in no time.
Yeah, only 3 seniors on the roster there. So, this year will be the catalyst of things to come for the Victor Blue Devils. So on to our traditional segments, which we've gotten away from in the past just because there's so much crazy stuff going on. But it's time to get back to our teams of the week, spotlighting a team that either we saw play in action recently, a team that made an impact, a team that is rolling off wins, a team with a great storyline. You guys know how it goes. So Carl, your team of the week here on Thursday, December 15th.
When you take down your rival in a thrilling fashion, you got to be my team of the week, the Aquinas boys basketball team. Beat McQuaid this past Tuesday on a game winner, Jayan Alexander, I believe with under, 30 seconds ago or something like that.
I think it was like 13, I think.
13? Yeah, got
something
you. I knew
like
it was in there somewhere.
Maybe I just keep thinking 13 seconds. I don't know.
But he's a sophomore, and I think what hits home about this team, they're 4-1 on the season, so shout out to them. 13 players, only 2 seniors. And to drive that point home a little bit further, only 2 guys on the team, if I'm not 3 guys, excuse me, have played varsity before this season. So this is a brand new team that's come back off of a sectional title a season ago. If you watch Aquinas last year, they had heavy hitters all over the court, inside, outside, you name it. Remember Jack Blyer, every time I go to a game, he's pulling from the parking lot, shooting a 3. Love getting those highlights. But the Blackwoods are gone. Michael White still is there. He's a quarterback last season. And they're finding a way to rack up some wins early on. 4-1, like I alluded to, take down your rival. McQuaid, don't be fooled by their schedule. The schedule has been tough. They played every game close. So you gotta be my team of the week. You take down your rival, and you're doing so with a team that's about as young as any JV team in the country, in the area. I'll give you your flowers for that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they lost 9 seniors off of that team that went to the Far West Regionals last year. Also lost Mason Blackwood, who was a sophomore and really primed to, kind of take over Section 5 potentially this year. He is off to, I believe, a prep school in New Hampshire, I believe, if I remember that correctly. But he is going the prep school route, so good luck to him and his non-Section 5 ventures, is often the case around here. But yeah, a really young team. And then I want to touch a little bit on, you mentioned it a little bit, that McQuaid team. I was almost more impressed with the results. We're making Aquinas our team of the week here because they won, of course. I was almost impressed more with McQuaid. Just, they've had a rough start to the season, 0-5 on the year. But like you said, losses to Edison Tech by 3, East by 3, Franklin by 12, which is going to be a really good team. This is, we'll get into more depth in there. I'm sure they'll be our team of the week or under the radar eventually. And then Niagara Falls, Aquinas. It's not going to slow down. They've got St. Joe's and some more teams coming up too. So it could be a long start of the season from McQuaid, but by no means should we count them out, come sectional time.
Yeah, come February, I'm sure people are going to see, if they're, God forbid, 5-15. I'm not projecting anything, but if that's the record or something like that, walk in the park, right? Nah, nothing like that. McQuaid is going to bring it every night they're on the floor.
Yeah, you ain't knocking out Jack Leisure out of the playoffs that easily, that's for sure. My team of the week, the Livonia girls basketball team. 5-0 on the season, led by Miss Kylie Buckley. And I got a story for you that I am sure that Mr. Carl Jones is going to love for this one. Let me just pull up the team right here so I get it for you. So Livonia enters a game last night against Clyde Savannah. They are undefeated. They are 4-0. They're playing Clyde Savannah. They are 3-0. Big game, hyped game.
Right.
It's a game everybody's looking forward to. They're playing at Clyde Savannah. Important for the schedule away. Found this out on Twitter as I was researching this story. First minute of the game, Kylie Buckley steps up to the free throw line. Overrated. Y'all done woke up the beast. Don't do it. No. And then Kylie Buckley answered with 39. 39 points in a 64-38 victory. Kylie Buckley getting it done. A monster game. She's averaging 27 points per game this season, 15 points per game. She is off to Niagara next year. But man, that's where Clyde Savannah, like the girls on Clyde Savannah, got to be looking over at their fans and be like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing?
Don't wake them up. Don't wake her up. She's a phenomenal ball player. I believe I got to catch her once or twice last season. I believe against Waterloo. And I knew she was a star back then. Doing it again this year. You don't wake her up, though. Don't do that, y'all. Say that in the fourth quarter when, she has 25 instead of her normal 27 or something.
Or at least, when you're winning the game, it's kind of like, I remember it was the Churchville-Chili game where they were telling them to warm up the buses when they were tied. We need fan etiquette training around here. We have all these videos about sportsmanship, being nice to the ref, things like that. That's fine and well, but we also got to get these kids some videos as to what not to do to help your team lose the game.
I'm not comparing Kylie Buckley to Jordan, but in this context, right? I remember a story where they were like, hey, when you play against somebody like that, you don't talk to them in no demeaning fashion, before the avalanche comes. You just let it come, right? Well, apply the same situation to Kylie Buckley. Y'all know she's a Division I player playing in Class B. Y'all setting girls up for misery, man. The student section, they need to apologize for sure. Need to apologize.
And it's been more than just that game for Livonia on the season. As I mentioned, 5-0 right now. Buckley 27-15 she had 15 rebounds in that game. She has 11.8 rebounds on the season. So she's getting it done. They also beat Leroy earlier this season. They beat him 66-29, and that team is 4-1 on the season. So that's their only loss, and they housed them by 37. Their other two top players, a pair of sisters, Libby Kwok Quack, one of those two. We'll see if we can figure that out when we get to one of their games. But Libby is averaging 15 points per game. Mary is averaging 10 points per game. And this is a team where their schedule is going to get interesting coming up. They're going to get tested in the near future to see how they stack up against, the non-Class B teams. They've got Sutherland on Saturday, who is off to a 3-0 start on this season. So that is going to be a good game. They've got Mercy coming up on the 28th. They're playing a tournament. They play Mercy in that tournament, and then they'll get a championship game after that. They've also got Victor later on their schedule. So Livonia, they can go certainly as far as Kylie Buckley can take them. And if these fans keep messing up, that'll be a pretty darn far away.
Yeah, and Kylie Buckley we trust. That's what I'm gonna say on that one. And then moving on to the under the radar team for me. I'm going to the jewel of the city, the Monroe Red Jackets, 3-0 on the season. I saw them last week take on School of the Arts. Soda beat them 80-75. But AJ alluded to it early on in the show. They beat Franklin 75-60. And make no mistake about it, Franklin has this kid, Shamir Freeman, senior ball player. Y'all got to catch up and watch him. I've seen him like in snippets, quarters at a time, running in and out of gyms. And every time I'm watching him play, he's pulling from 3 feet from behind the line, getting to the rack, doing something nice. And they took them down by 15. So this Monroe team, clearly, they got something brewing over there. They're 3-0. They didn't get their third win last season until January 11th. So they're way ahead of where they were last season. They went 9-11 last year. So it just literally a month. They're a month ahead of where they were in 2021. They're led by Jaquan Shears, Davion Jones, and then Felton Gray, big man down low. So I believe it all 6'4", 6'5". Monroe, RCSD school, they might be one of the better teams in that one, but they're going to have some chances to prove themselves outside of just that schedule. They have McQuaid later on in the year. This Red Jacket team, they press you. They're in your face. The entire game I'm there, I don't know how big a high school floor is, but NBA is 94. We're going to say for this exercise, 75 feet or whatever. Up and down the floor. They're fun to watch, and I'm interested to see how their season turns out.
No, I'm looking at Monroe's roster right now. As you mentioned, Felton Gray at 6'4", Jaquan Shears at 6'2". Everyone else 5'11", one at 5'11", 5'10", and under. So that's a team that's gonna, like you mentioned, you get a roster built like that. Keep your big guys kind of in the back and let the guards just wreak havoc, just swap them in and out. So that's going to be a fun team to cover this year. Monroe's always a fun team on the basketball court. They get up and down, and they play some really good ball. They've got World of Inquiry on tomorrow on Friday. Then they got a matchup with McQuaid on the 20th. So, they start off 3-0 nice. They could certainly build into something good in the short term, building on the success from that football team this year, of course. And then my under-the-radar team, the Churchville-Chili hockey program. This is a team that was feisty last year. This is a team that started off the season just scoring an absurd amount of goals. We almost got out there for a story just because of just the sheer pace that they were scoring points last year. However, they ended the season on a 5-game losing streak, so they kind of fell off at the end. They went 7-11-1 last year. Just want to roll off some of these numbers that they had to start last year. They had a 9-0 game. They had an 8-7 game. They won 7-5. Like, this is a team that was just scoring at will. But like I said, they kind of fell off at the end of the year there. But this season, they're putting up some really quality results, currently at the top of the Class B sectional standings very early on. They just had a tie on Tuesday against Webster Thomas 2-2. They beat Brighton HFL 8-4, always a nice program. They beat Schrader 4-2, as we mentioned earlier in this season. Schrader's having a really nice season with their victory over Thomas, and then they also beat Fairport 3-2 on the season. So this is a team that's off to a really strong start to the season this year. They're led by Max McKay with 4 goals, 7 assists. Parker Farnham's got 5 goals, 4 assists. Tyler Eberhardt has 4 goals and 2 assists, and then 2 defensemen, each with 2 goals. Trey Eberhardt and Gavin Carr for them, for Churchville-Chili. And then I want to point out their goalie, because obviously last year, scoring goals wasn't exactly an issue. Keeping them out came a little bit more difficult for them. Tristan Harris, he was their backup in net last year. He went 1-4-1 in his limited time. He had a 3.59 goals against average, an 891 save percentage. This year, That 3.59 goals against average is down to 2.44, over a goal per game in this early sample size. Well, actually, it's the same sample size from last year. And then the save percentage from that 891 up to 915 so far. So if you can keep that scoring presence, you can get a trusty backstop in net. Churchville-Chili, there's a lot of fun teams in Class B. I think that Class B is going to be one of our brackets to watch as we move forward in the winter playoffs. Churchville-Chili is definitely going to be one to keep an eye on going forward.
Last year, they were kind of like the Sabres this year, right? We're scoring a bunch of goals, making a lot of fun, but they're also giving up a bunch as well. Every time I'm doing Sabre highlights, I'm like, man, can y'all stop? I'm trying to get these 3 and leave. You understand? But Churchville-Chili shored up that back end. I actually went out to a game last year, and speaking of rinks, that rink was cold, all right, and it was hard to shoot. So Churchville-Chili, if y'all gonna make me go out there again, let's make it a worthwhile, because I'm gonna be freezing out there. I'm not good with the cold, y'all. So at least have some fun for me, and give me a nice 4 goals in the opening period if y'all can do that. I know I got it in. I know y'all got it in. Max McKay, you built like that. Come on, man, you got it.
Yeah, over there at Scottsville. That's I haven't been out to Scottsville. That's I think only Churchville-Chili plays there. Maybe a couple other teams, but I have not made out to Scottsville. I remember you talking about how it wasn't the most conducive to shooting highlights. So hopefully, if you get out there, Churchville-Chili, as you said, makes it worth your while. And it seems like they are going to be doing that this year. And then finally, our games of the week coming up. We got a couple good ones on the slate. Hopefully they don't get postponed or canceled. A lot of these games are getting canceled tonight. But Carl, who are you hoping gets their game in this week?
Well, I'm hoping that Edison Tech and East get to take each other tomorrow. Boys basketball. I mean, I don't need to set this up in some grand fashion. Both teams are 4-1. Both teams have star players on both sides. Both of the losses are actually to the St. Patrick's School. AJ got to see that team. That team's really darn good based off what so those losses are by no means, some detriment to who these teams are, all right? Zion Parsons on one side, Tyler Bethea and David Linscomb on the other. These two teams it's going to be box office. It's going to be fun up and down the court. A couple dunks probably, I imagine. Games at Edison Tech, 6:30 Friday. That'll be the 16th of December. I can't wait to see who comes out on top of that one. Edison Tech, you familiar with that team because you did a story on them last year. They lost a couple of those guys, but they bring some back, like I just alluded to. We'll see who gets to come out on top because both teams are off to a phenomenal start this season.
No, yeah, Edison Tech. Part of the theme of that story was the fact that they brought so many pieces back from last year. I'm trying to. Yeah, they lost to a. Yeah, I was at the. What was the game that I'm thinking of? Yeah, I was at East Edison Tech last year on their regular season matchup, and that was a good one as well. So you always know it's going to be fun when these two teams get together. And just some of the points that East is putting up. Have you seen their schedule? Because they have put up 99 against International Prep before, and they dropped 109 on Early College. They beat Early College 109-30, which, hey, you got to play defense to stop them. But I mean that's a lot of points for. They had to make sure they covered in that one. They needed the alt spreads, I guess.
Lord, Hammer 90 against Wills, 75 against McQuay. Lord, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this: you got to be at the East game literally for just 2 minutes, and you'll get your highlights. Because Lord, they're gonna take care of you.
That is for sure. And then another game, which might be one of the games of the girls' basketball slate this year. It's coming up on Saturday at 7:00. So I'm gonna get that. Probably some first half highlights right before I get hunkered down for the Bills game. Fairport taking on Bishop Kearney. That is right. Bishop Kearney playing a Section 5 foe. They do not do it very often. At least they didn't do it last year. Scheduling's been weird the last couple of years, but last year they basically only played Mercy. They played, I think they played Edison Tech, actually. I think they might have gotten in a game against East, but last year, Bishop Kearney really didn't play anybody, so we were kind of question mark heading into their schedule. This week, Fairport, a rematch of last year's sectional championship game, which BK won 58-52. Arguably their toughest test on their way to their state championship last year. You've got BK starting off the year at 0-2, facing off against two teams from Pennsylvania. So I imagine those are let's stack our schedule games. Then Fairport at 4-1. You know, they lost to Schrader by 19 early in the season. They've righted the ship a little bit against kind of the second tier of opponents here in Section 5 girls basketball. So they're going to get a wake-up call. Both of these teams are on Saturday night. That game's at Bishop Kearney. Obviously, at Fairport, you've got the Bella and Ella show, 17 and 12 points respectively. And then you've also got on Bishop Kearney's side, Amaya Jackson averaging 18.5 per game. Clarissa Good averaging 14 points per game, obviously taken over from her sister Kaya. Allie Hall with 7 points and 14.5 rebounds per game for BK. You know, this is the team last year that made the state, or the won the state championship game. Gone is Kaya Good. Anaya Rowe is playing some prep ball up in Canada against the three-headed monster of Fairport. Nevaeh Buntley also with 11.6 points per game. So that's going to be a fun one. And that's going to be a game that we look back to for a long time as to where these teams stack up, because they might be squaring off against each other again in the sectional tournament championship game. Maybe. I don't know.
No, for sure. And on Fairport's side, obviously they, trying to right the ship. They have righted the ship a little bit after the very curious opening season defeat. Not, I guess, defeat, but the way they lost to Schrader in not week one, wrong sport. In
Game
season
one.
opener, right? And but I mean, obviously they're gonna want some revenge on their mind, and in their mind, they're not gonna care who's missing on BK side. They just want to take down anybody they see in a BK jersey, right? And then on BK side, they want to prove that, it doesn't matter who we have on this side, we still gonna always, take you guys down. So that's gonna be a fun one Saturday, and you got some storylines galore on that one.
That is for sure. Well, that'll do it for us on the High School Huddle podcast. We're going to have one more show for you before the year comes to a close. We're going to do another show next week on Thursday and take a little week off for the holiday break as teams kind of go on breaks themselves. But we will be back next week, kind of recapping all these great games. Carl's got a good story brewing over at IQ. He's going to share a little bit about that next week. So we got a good week of basketball and hockey, if the weather holds out. That's, of course, we got all these great games. Hopefully they happen. But that'll do it for us. Time to break the huddle. For Carl Jones, I am AJ Feldman. Thank you for listening and watching Spotify, Apple Podcasts, RochesterFirst.com, and YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time.